Hello and welcome back. I'm Randy Newbert from VoodooFX. In today's video, we'll be going over a fiber optic install on the batteries not included kilowatt model. So let's get started. Okay, well, it's finally come down to doing the fiber optics on the batteries not included kilowatt model. And again, I've had a lot of requests for people to show me or to show them how this is done. And I have other fiber optic videos, but this one I'm going to address it in full. And then that way you guys will really see how to actually properly install and mount fiber optics into your model. Just for a quick little background, I had over 10 years experience installing fiber optics professionally. So I have a little bit of experience and was doing a lot of work with big signage and special effects things that we use to create with fiber optic light. So anyway, that's kind of just my quick little background about where and what I know about fiber optics. So anyway, in this model, I've already went ahead and in another video, I already show the drill out method of how I actually drill out the holes for the fiber optics. A good quick way of saying it without getting too into the real gist of actually how it's done. But what I end up doing is whenever I do fiber optic installs, luckily on this model, they already had little dimples cut out, so I knew where to put the fibers. But if you don't have that opportunity, because again, this is kind of like general fiber optic 101. So what I do is I take a Sharpie and I'll dot all these little holes wherever I feel that it can be used for the light output. And basically with fibers, and especially if you're going for that kind of that window effect or window light effect, you usually do them in like little pairs. I can do them like usually they come in like a pair or two, sometimes three. Sometimes they can be in different ways that they're either lined up horizontally or vertically. But again, this is kind of a preference thing. But again, I think the most important thing here to keep into check is that it has to be kind of like random. If it's a random kind of pattern, the eye is easily tricked. And when it comes out randomly, it looks very, very real. And it is a physical model, so we're actually physically putting it in here. But that's kind of how we do a layout for doing fiber optics. So that's kind of again, just a real gist or just a real basic idea of how we lay out fiber. So in this case, what we're going to be using is, this is a pretty standard scale fiber that I use a lot. And this is from the Fiberoptics store.com. And I've been dealing with the fiber optics store for many, many years. They have great fiber optic. This is a high quality fiber optic. Don't be fooled by cheap and low budget fiber. You want to use high quality fiber at anytime you can get the highest quality fiber, buy it. Do not buy cheap stuff that comes off some of these big box stores or these wholesalers or whoever it is. Buy from a quality source. And again, without doing too much cross promotion here for the fiberopticstore.com, again, he has got great deals, high quality fiber optic, and again, well worth going to him to purchase these rolls. So again, some of the first questions that I always get out when I do it is, what size is this? Okay, so this size is 0.75 millimeter, or what they call is a 30 mil scale. And just to give you kind of an idea of the size, is it's basically about the same size as a mechanical pencil lead as far as scale goes. This fits many applications for doing fiber. I've done countless projects using both the 75 or the 30 mil, and then another one which is a little bit smaller, which is the 50 mil. So those are kind of like the two variations I use the most. You can get fiber in a lot of different scales. So again, it's all about application. And so how I kind of go about doing this is, again, like this model, this is like, has like about 300 or 400, maybe, I'm sorry, maybe 200 to 300 holes in it, give or take. And so in the fiber optic world, you want to have a lot of extra fiber. If you run yourself short on fiber, you're really in a bad position, because you can't go back and patch fiber. It literally has to be one continuous run of the fiber, and that is really literally the only way you can really do it. I've done patches where I've spliced together fibers that were either bent or something like that, but the output never ever comes out the same. So, again, run it long, just like you would with any kind of wiring, and this will help keep you from, again, coming up short. So you're always actually better off having a long run of this. Fiber has its limitations. It's usually done, it can be only put in without, you never want to bend the thing in a 90-degree angle. Guys have tried, I've seen them before, they swear by this, about heating it up and bending the fiber. You put a little bit of heat to it, you bend the fiber, you can almost get it to go 90. You lose about maybe half or 3/4 of the luminosity out of it. So do not bend it at 90 degrees, and do not try to heat it to try to bend it. You're going to lose light output. So what I always tell most guys that are doing this, I always like to have like about a, let's just say you could get away with the bend about that big as far as the loop goes. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well, because again, against this background and everything, fiber is very translucent, but probably about a 45-degree bend, 30-degree bend, but nowhere near 90. Again, guys still feel they can bend this stuff out at 90 degrees, but it just doesn't work. So anyway, after you've got all your holes drilled and you're ready to go with it, basically all you're going to do is you're going to just start threading it one at a time and putting it through the model. Now there's a couple different ways of doing this. And again, I think I'll go through the basic way that has worked with me the best overall. And I'm going to do a little preliminary. I'll make up one or two of these wires and dress it all the way so you can see what the actual finished headpiece will look like. But what I can't stress enough is, again, as far as installing, there's a couple different ways of doing this. So some guys like to send all the fiber through, back glue it, and then paint the entire model, and then come back and then chop off the ends and call it done. Okay? This method's okay if it's going to be done for a certain project. Overall, I don't suggest doing it this way. And I'm just going to tell you my reasoning behind this, but for all the fibers that I've installed over my career, which is literally probably, thousands and thousands of feet of fiber, if you have the model done and completed, and then you're going to go to put the finished fiber on there, I'm going to show you the easiest way to come out with the cleanest effect. And it's a little more time consuming and it takes a lot longer. But again, the overall finished product is worth it in the end, because again, This is a very tedious and long process. So again, I'm going to switch cameras right now, and I'll kind of come on a different little angle. See if I can get a little bit closer here for you, so you can really see how I do this. Because again, I want this video to really come out good, so everybody understands how fiber optics actually should be installed into a model properly. So anyway, so let me switch my camera angle, and I'll finish a little bit more before I start going through and doing the high speed, because once I start this process, it'll take me probably around 3 to 4 hours grand total. But I'll try to jam it in for you guys, and you guys will be able to see it like in a couple minutes worth of high-speed footage. So anyway, so let me go ahead and drop onto that video. Okay, so I wanted to go over a quick little tool list of what I do to actually, what kind of tools I use to actually do this install. What you'll need is obviously the fiber optic cable itself. You're going to need some kind of a torch, or even a Bic lighter would probably do it, or some kind of a lighter. And what I prefer is I've used this for a lot of years. And again, hopefully you can kind of view it, but this is just a flat screwdriver. And what you're going to end up doing, this is how you're going to dress the end of the fiber optic when you go to put it in the model. You'll also need a good pair of sharp scissors in order to cut the fiber to length once you get it threaded through the model. And again, I'm going to run these fibers extra long so we have plenty of room to work with. And then we're going to bundle them all up into little fiber optic cans. I have a little link for a 3D file that was provided by Dream Studios that has the fiber optic cans in a few different scales, both 5mm, 10mm, and 3mm scale, if you're looking to go with something small, medium, or large, as far as the cans, the fiber optic can holders go for the LEDs. And again, we're going to do these in individual LEDs. You can usually group in the 5mm scale anywhere between 12 to 15 LEDs, or I'm sorry, fiber optics into one LED can. So that kind of gives you kind of a scale of what you kind of are going to do overall. So anyway, so how I start this off, let me pull my tools aside here, and you'll see me kind of pulling these in and out as I go through this process. So what I'm going to end up doing is you get the model. And again, I have this I got this little piece of bubble wrap just so I don't mar the model or scuff the model in any way. And that's what I'll use to actually do it. So if you look on the back side of all the little holes that I drilled out, you probably can see them here and just kind of get a daylight look through them. But here's all the holes that I've peppered everywhere for the fiber. And again, they're only on this front half section. So how I do this is I'm going to lay it like this, and I'm going to start with one singular corner, and then I'll work this whole zone, and then I'll come back and I'll work the whole other zone. You can go from back to front or front to back, or you can even start in the middle and work your way out to each side. That's all preference as far as fit goes for the fiber. So how I do this is I take a little bit of the fiber, and again I'm gonna spool out a little bit loose, so you see like I've got like a lot of extra wire here. And then what I'm gonna do, and again it's gonna get really messy, there's gonna be fibers every which way in here, and we will manage those in the very end. But this is to show the basics of how this is done. So what I do is, now that the hole's drilled out, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find that hole, I'm going to send it on through, and again, you're going to get a lot of kinking, and as you apply, or as you get this in here, you want to try to take any of the kind of the kinkage out of it. And in this case, depending on where I'm going to put the can, And I have a top layer piece that's going to go on top of this. So I got to make sure to stay below this level in order so I can, and I'm going to put the cans somewhere, maybe in the back here, but they'll be out of the way. So what I do is I go ahead and I'm going to draw it a little farther than what it needs to be. So in this case, I'm almost going to take it to the back of the model with the actual fiber. So that's how much I'm going to, you know, how much extra I'm going to give it. So in that way I can push it, I can twist it. Maybe I bring it on this side, that side, whatever, but it gives me a lot of play. Okay, so now this is the kind of the crucial, critical part. So just forget about the mounting. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this thing loose, and all I'm going to do is just go in there. I'm going to cut it really clean. Okay, I'm going to cut that fiber off. I'm going to pull it back out a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my trusty torch, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start heating up the tip of this flat screwdriver. And what we're going to do is we're going to, what they call this is fiber optic. You're going to dress the end. And you got to get it nice and warm. And again, since it's a singular LED, I don't have to really do it really hot. But I'm going to heat this up. And then all you're going to do, once it's nice and warm, is pull this out and just touch the end of it. And just put ever so much of a little tiny, you're just gonna just dress the end of that thing until it's clean. And I could probably probably should have a picture of this as well, but how the fiber optic end looks is this little tiny, like dressed end. And by heating it up and just running that flat little cable over there, now you can go ahead and you can literally, once this thing's all said and done, you can literally pull this right up against the body and it won't pull through. But if you notice, you look at the side where the fiber is, the fiber light is coming right straight through there perfectly, and it's already dressed for the end. So I'm going to do a little bit more about how we manage these in the very end. So what I do here is I just leave this out and let it run long like that. And again, I dress the end so I don't have to worry about it pulling through. And then that way, when we finally get all of them in place, then I can start individually coming in here and gluing these to the model. And again, I'm going to have this in this video about how I glue them. But I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to pull through with the high speed of this because this will take me quite a while to do all these fibers. And again, I'm just going to do a little bit of a high speed on this again because there's just so many of them that I'd be here forever showing it to you on video. So I kind of just don't want to. I'm going to go through the process just like I did on this one. I'm going to leave them long. And then when it's all said and done, you'll see I'll have all these little wires all pre-dressed coming out of here. And then we'll come back and we'll start managing all the fiber. So anyway, so that'll be on another video, or this will be on this video, but this will be a little bit farther down the line here. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the high-speed shot. Okay, so we're back to the fiber optic install, and now we're going to move on to actually gluing the fibers in place into the holes. We've already threaded the model, and you saw that in the previous videos, and now we have to adhere them to the actual surface. And how we're going to do this, and I kind of explained it a little bit in the other video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to push these out, and I'm going to do them one at a time, maybe two at a time. And as I'm going through the process, I'm going to inspect the actual fiber ends to make sure that they're dressed good, and they look, they look acceptable enough to actually put them in permanently. And how we're going to do this is we're going to use this. This is basically white glue, or Elmer's white glue, and this is a what they call tacky glue. So what this does is it gives it it has a little bit more of a gluing structure to it. So when you actually put it in the hole, it kind of bites in and holds a little better. It's what I prefer to do with fibers. You can't use anything like CA or any kind of epoxy or other materials like that to do to glue fibers in, because it'll degrade the fiber and could ruin the fiber 100%. So this is what I prefer to use anytime when I'm doing very delicate installations, and this always seems to do the job. Even if it's even like a white clear canopy part or whatever, this stuff just really works good. And as you can see, this is quite an old can, but you still can get this Elmer's Craft bonding glue. And again, it comes out white and milky, but it dries crystal clear. And so how I apply is I just use just a toothpick, and then I've got a little tiny piece of parchment paper, and I just take this parchment paper, I put a little bit of a glob of the glue on there, and then what I'm going to do is when I go to actually physically put the glue on there, all I'm going to do, and let me zoom in here a little bit. Maybe this will kind of give a little bit better perspective of it. And I think what I'm going to do for the video wise, when I do this process, is I'm going to do the high speed stuff again, because again, this process is going to be really long, and it takes a lot of time in order to do it. So I'll do the high speed camera for the bulk of this installation. But again, I want to show is what we'll do is you just take a little bit of the glue, we apply it on the edge just prior to where it's dressed, just on this little tiny edge, and then I just take it with my finger, and I push it back in, and just push it back into the model, and then that's it. And then you want to leave all the wires the way they are right now, because they're kind of holding on their own, they're staying in position. And this is crucial because you don't want the wire to come leaking out as it's drying. So this is why we leave this all kind of just in place where it is and not move it around too much. And then this will keep everything held down and in good position. And then we come back, what I end up doing is when all the fibers are glued in the sides here and they're really down in good position, then I'll come back and I'll do the back side. And what I'll do there is, again, I'll just reapply the glue the same way. So what I do is I just take again, grab a little bit of the white glue, and you put it on the inside area of the model. And this helps also secure it better. And what's nice too about this white glue system, or doing it in this method, is when I actually do the gluing, if you ever needed to rip the fiber back out or needed to do something with the fiber, say you got a bent fiber in there, or something was just weird, with the white glue, you could cut it loose and pull it through and then pull a new wire through. Again, if you try anything harsher than the white glue, it ends up being that you can't access the fibers ever again. So basically, you'd be starting with a brand new model lighting project and build project if you ran into that scenario. So we try to avoid that. And just on one other small note, and I have used this in the past too, you can also use a silicone. So 100% silicone has no effect on the actual fiber. So this is another alternative way of actually gluing them in place. Now the difference is with the silicone, it takes much longer for the silicone to dry. You'll need at least a good 12, maybe even 24 hours for it to fully set up and fully be strong, and then be anchored onto the model. This white glue, believe it or not, it dries pretty fast, and I can usually handle it by the end of the day. So you don't have to go through the process, but again, I can't stress this enough when working with fiber optics, is go ahead and glue them all in place, put the model, pull all the finished mounted fibers aside, and then come in and then work on it the next day. That way it's got a full curing process. It dries all the way, and then you're not going to have any pullouts, because that's what you're trying to avoid, is having these things fall out of the holes. And again, this is kind of a crucial thing when you're doing it. So what I'm going to do is let me go and switch into my high-speed mode here, and we'll do a little time lapse on this process, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a count of as far as the time goes. Like I said before, I think what ended up burning up when I did the initial threading of the fiber, I think it was 3 hours aside, so it was about a 6-hour total to do that. And this process should go quite a bit faster because we're just applying a little dab of white glue and then pushing them in. But it will take a while because again, I got to push them all out a little bit at a time, push them back in, and again, it's kind of a lengthy process, but again, the final results of it will be quite amazing looking when it's all said and done. So anyway, so let me switch camera modes here, and I'll move on with the mounting of the fiber optics. Okay, so this is going to conclude all the fiber optic install as far as the fit work goes, cutting them in and, threading them and then going ahead and gluing them back. And again, I've mounted all the spaces. They're all glued in place. Now it's just a drying process of letting this all set up and dry. I'm going to come back a little bit later once this is kind of set up a little more. And then I might even add a little more glue here and there. I'm going to just turn it over just a little bit so you can see it. But see, I've glued the, I've went around and I've put white glue all across the back sides. But I can already see right now from what I've done is I've missed a couple spots here and there, but I'll come back and then just tighten those up afterwards. So anyway, this will conclude the fiber optic again. I don't want to sound too much like a broken wheel here, but the threading of the fiber and how to get it into the model and lay it out. And then this is showing how to actually mount it permanently. And the next video will be where I show how to hook up the actual light source to the fiber optic. And that'll be on another video. I might break these up into a few different video series because they're just so long. But again, I don't know how I'm gonna edit them yet. So you might have to watch a continuation video in order to see the whole process, just because again, the videos are very long. So anyway, thanks for watching the video, and look forward to seeing you on the lighting install onto the fiber optics, and that'll be the next video coming out. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.